How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins, Media Corner, back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time for this new episode for the series is going to be my review on the 2024 fantasy comedy drama film, and that is If. This was written and directed by John Krasinski, and this is his latest film he's made as a filmmaker, and you may know him as the director of both A Quiet Place movies. And in this film, we follow a young girl named Bee, who's played by Cailey Fleming, and she's going through a difficult experience with her life because for her father, who's played by John Krasinski, he isn't doing too well at the hospital. And what happens to her later down the line in the film, she starts to see everyone's imaginary friends, in which they're the ones that have been forgotten from their real life children, from their real life friends, because they have now grown up. And so we see for Bee, we see her going on this magical adventure with her neighbor named Cal, played by Ryan Reynolds, who can also see imaginary friends. And we see these two characters working together to try and reconnect the forgotten imaginary friends with their kids. So that's pretty much the story of If. Now, I was actually really looking forward to this movie since this was the latest film by John Krasinski as a director. And as I mentioned before, he directed both A Quiet Place movies, which I really enjoyed both of those movies. They were really great horror films in the horror genre. And as soon as I saw the trailers for this movie, I was like, if he could make a really good horror film, I had a feeling he would make a really good children's film here, since this is in fact a children's film. And since at the very start for him, he was well known for doing comedies, like with the TV show The Office and stuff as well. And I was also really surprised with the amount of stars who were in this film. Like, you've got a big cast of well-known actors. Like, you've got Cailey Fleming, Ryan Reynolds, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., rest in peace, and Steve Carrell, and so on. And this film came out on the 17th of May of this year, which came out along with the new Strangers movie, Strangers Chapter 1, which I went to see that movie first, and so I saw this movie the very next day, which I saw this at me job for free with a fair amount of children and adults on the screen that I was in for this movie. And after watching this whole movie here, unfortunately, I want to say this is like John Krasinski's next greatest work since both A Quiet Place movies, but I still overall had a good, enjoyable time here with this movie, but I did want a little bit more out of this movie here. For the cast who are in this movie here, I thought they were really good here. Like, you've got Cailey Fleming as Bee. I thought she was really good in this movie, as well as with Ryan Reynolds, who plays Cal in this movie. And yeah, he is pretty different than what we usually see Ryan Reynolds in other films, because in this film, he's not like flat out Deadpool or any other characters that he's played in other films, because in this movie, he's much more of a serious character, and he's kind of a grump in the film, but still, though, he is really good in this movie. And John Krasinski as well is also really good, and he also did a fun job of voicing one of the ifs that were in this movie. And Fiona Shaw was also really good as well, and everyone else for live action performances, they were really good. And as for the voice work in the film for these actors who voices these ifs that we do see in this movie here, there were a lot of fun here. Like, you've got Steve Carell, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, and so on and so on. Like, they all are really fun in this movie here. And they do have very unique personalities to every single one of them, which I really liked. And the way they look in the film is visually appealing from the way they're designed in the film. Like, they're like cartoony styled from the way they've been made in this film. Like, you've got Steve Carell as Blue, who's this huge, like, furry monster, and despite being called blue, he's not even in that color because he's actually purple. But I really like that character. He was cute and he was funny. And you've got Phoebe Waller-Bridge as this if, who's this like butterfly ballet dancer, which I was well designed. And you've got like Louis Gossett Jr. as this stuffed teddy bear, like this old stuffed teddy bear named Louis, in which that was well designed as well. And as for its overall concept of the film, it is pretty creative. And yeah, as soon as I saw the trailers for this film and knowing what this whole movie was about, this film just immediately reminded me of a TV show that I used to watch on Cartoon Network, which was Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, because there are a few essence from that show being thrown into this film here. And while this film does tend to have its own originality to it, but still, though, I like the overall concept of this movie here. But as for storytelling here for this film, I kind of felt the storytelling for the film was less investing, because there were a few scenes that were in this film here that I felt were unnecessary to be put into this film here, and there were times where the film just kind of felt it went less for where it was trying to go to, and it kind of had some like weak stuff as well when it tried to make yourself connected with some of the relationships in the film here, like mostly like the relationship between Bee and her father, which I kind of wish there would have been a few more moments with them, but they just weren't that well connected here. And there are times where it tries to pull your heartstrings, which I kind of felt were a bit weak as well here as well. But overall, in the end, guys, if I did have a good time with this movie here, but again, I did want a little bit more out of this film here. But this was overall a solid work by John Krasinski here. But again, not his best since both are Quiet Place movies here. But if you are a fan of John Krasinski as either an actor or filmmaker or any of the stars that were in this movie here, or you're a fan of like movies that has something to do with like imaginary friends or anything like that, this is definitely a good treat for the kids here. So that's pretty much all to say about If. I'm gonna give If 3.5 out of 5. Again, like I said, I did want a little bit more out of this movie here, but there was still a few things I did find myself enjoying while I was watching this movie here, but for everything else that was surrounding this whole movie here, did left me a bit disappointed here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my AK After I Saw review on If, and let me know what you think of this movie if you have seen this already, or if you just recently checked this out. Did you have fun with this, or was this not really a popcorn treat? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.